Hello everybody, Justin from Playing Board Games here, and I have another one of these deck tech videos for you. Today, Wendy Adams learns quickly. We're on our final of the core set investigators. We're finishing with everybody's favorite orphan survivor. Maybe she's not actually an orphan, her dad's alive or something like that. Someone always corrects me when I call her an orphan, but I'm calling her an orphan just to make fun of her, just so we all know. Because, you know, me and Wendy, we're not friends. We're actually enemies. But still, I'll make a deck here for Wendy Adams, and let's dive in and get this started. This deck was inspired by a standalone scenario that I played with Daniel from Quick Learner. If you don't know, Daniel's an awesome content creator that also makes ARKHAM horror content. Him and I have been doing actually a lot of collab stuff recently, and consider this like a pseudo collab that we're doing at a distance without him even knowing. I'm basically just like stealing his idea. But after the name, this deck utilizes the likes of Leo DeLuca, Eon Chart, Old Keyring, Quick Thinking, and Scavenging to take advantage of Quick Learner's ability. This is Quick Learner the card, which reduces difficulty of certain actions you take while also increasing the difficulty on the first action you take. And not Daniel Quick Learner. He, as far as I know, he does not have an ability printed on him. For the sets that we have here, as you can see, there's the usual suspects of the core set, and then also the Edge of the Earth, Scarlet Keys, and Feast of Hemlock Vale. There's a lot of strong encounter cards in those. We also have the usual Dunwich, Carcosa, Forgotten Age, Dream Eaters, Innsmouth, kind of like all over, as these things usually do. They kind of are... The collection is very powerful, and when you build with the whole collection without any limitations, it is really nice to take advantage of that. Stella Clark, the deck is required for this, as well as the core set, which is required to play anyway. You can adapt otherwise without it, I'm pretty sure. Like, I think the most important pieces in this deck are Stella Clark, obviously for Quick Learner, but also core set gives you actually Wendy Adams, Scavenging, and Leo DeLuca, which are all pieces that we can use to take advantage of. We also have the Old Keyring level 0. So adapt as needed, but this is what you need to make both the level 0 deck and the final XP deck. Speaking of the level 0 deck, let's just take a quick little peek at this. As you can see, most of the stuff is... I don't spend too long here. You can find a link down to in the video description to these actual on ARKHAM but this is what we're going with here. So a nice thing about Wendy Adams, she works really well with Scavenging because of her ability, where you can discard a card from your hand to cancel a Chaos token that you reveal to reveal a new one. That even works for the auto-fail, which means that if you draw the auto-fail, you could discard a card and have another shot at it, and you're very unlikely to draw a second auto-fail with that. Notably that this is built with a taboo list in mind, because there's no level 0 Scavenging here, because that now costs 2 experience, but it is in the final XP version of the deck where things get super exciting. As you can see, this whole archetype, the Tested 0 and Scavenging, which are, it's crazy, because they're both two actual separate archetypes, but they sing together so beautifully when they are put together, and that's what we're taking advantage of here, as well as Quick Learner, which you can see down in the bottom of the assets section here. We're going to go through this deck, talk about the cards individually and in like batches that are good, and then some upgrade paths, as we always do for these videos. If this is your first time watching one of these, thank you and welcome. Let's see what this deck is all about. So, the namesake for our deck is Quick Learner, and we are looking at taking advantage of it in a variety of ways. We are using both the Tested 0 package and extra actions to outvalue the game in the long term. There is a little bit of an elephant in a room right now, where Quick Learner, due to a recent email ruling as of October 31st, 2024, this is the day I'm recording this video where this email ruling is still, people are still referring to it. It's not officially in the FAQ, so we don't follow it on the channel, so I'm not following it in this video, but a long time ago, Quick Learner was decided that it does not affect the Mythos phase. However, in the recent email ruling that I'm discussing, it was mentioned that it does affect the Mythos phase. So that would mean that the +1 difficulty to the Mythos phase would affect things like, for example, Rotting Remains, meaning that it could deal you 5 horror. This is a very contentious ruling due to the fact that people are like, a 4 XP card making your Rotting Remains worse doesn't seem that worth it. So this is all with the intention that works with the designer's intent, MJ the old designer, whole lead designer, and that this card did not affect it. So this deck, and all of I talk about, is going to specify that this is not affecting the Mythos phase. Okay, we're just going to get that out of the way. Elephant in the room, we're going to point at it, say that's the elephant, and that's how we're going to be handling this. Notably, this is, because this email ruling is not in the FAQ, we don't follow it on the channel. If it does enter the FAQ, obviously we will follow it, but for the time being, Quick Learner is only going to affect your first action on your turn, and before actions you take before your first action on your turn, and not during the Mythos phase. Just for the discussion in this video, I'm just getting that out of the way, and I'm not really too interested in talking about it in the comments. I've said my pieces on it in our Discord, which you should join, but that's this video is about like everything after. The actions before we're not going to worry about, but the actions after we are going to be talking about. So, during and after your third action, you get -1 difficulty for each test you perform. Because we're going to have 2 quick learners, we're going to get -2 difficulty on each of the tests we perform, which is really, really nice. We're going to be taking advantage of this with both Old Keyring 3 and Shed a Light. These are 2 powerful cards that we're looking to play and loop as much as we can. When playing with Shed a Light, don't be afraid to leave a clue on a location that you can then pick up later with Shed a Light, which is really nice. So the reason why Old Keyring and Quick Learner work together really well, which you might not be aware of. If you've played with them, you'll pick it up pretty quickly. If you tried this deck out, you'll also pick it up pretty quickly. When you're getting -4 Shroud on your third action using Old Keyring, you're very likely, except for very rare situations, to be able to hit 0 Shroud, meaning you're going to hit with the Old Keyring, and your Shed a Light is going to be active as well. It's very powerful. It's been tabooed for a reason, and we're taking advantage of it in this deck. 2 other cards to enhance our Tested Zero package and will also work functionally on their own are Matchbox and Winging It. So Matchbox is a quietly efficient card that works really well with both Scavenging and Quick Learner. The more tests we can take at lower shrouds, the more clues we will squeeze out of the game in the long term. So the nice thing about Matchbox is that your location gets -1 Shroud until the end of this turn. It's not like a Flashlight or an Old Keyring where it's only affecting the investigation. If you use 1 or 2 Matchbox on a location, you're going to get -1 or -2 Shroud for the remainder of your turn. Which means that with your Quick Learner, you'll be at -3 or -4, depending on the Matchboxes you used for your third action. We couple this with our deck's intention, which is using Leo DeLuca or Eon Chart to take additional actions, which means that we're going to have even more time with Reduced Shroud, which means we're going to trigger our Scavenging more, and it's really, really wonderful. Winging It works really well with Wendy's ability, giving us an easy card that we can discard and redraw Chaos tokens as needed. I ended up with one of these in the final version of my deck, but this is easily adapted to run 2, and honestly, maybe it should be. I'm also looking forward to the potential upgraded version of this in Drowned City, because we've seen an upgraded version to Improvised Weapon, which sits in the cycle that Winging It is part of. Notably, as I always like to do with these videos, I like to leave it open to you as the viewer to adapt as needed. These are just kind of like, look at these as like skeletons in which you can put bone, like you can put meat on the bones, right? So like I'm okay if like these are like just suggestions for you to try out and explore and see what works best for you. And maybe it's 2 Winging It's, maybe it's Luckies instead of Live and Learns, yada yada yada, all that kind of stuff. Keeping it going to the other package in our deck, this is Scavenging. Like I said, Tested Zero and Scavenging are separate archetypes, but they work really good together, because if you're tested at 0, you're likely going to succeed by 2, which works for Scavenging. Your Old Keyring, which is the biggest piece of your Tested Zero deck, is going to go into your graveyard. It discards itself, so we can scavenge it back. It works really well together. It doesn't have any direct synergy with Quick Learner, apart from the fact that it makes it more likely for you to succeed by 2, which is really nice, which allows us to loop our Old Keyring, our Matchbox, our Eon Chart, and our Schaffners. Eon Chart allows us to take more actions, which works really well with Quick Learner. While they have to be basic with the taboo, it won't matter while we are getting -2 difficulty on those tests, especially for also pairing those with, for example, the Matchbox that I just talked about. So with your Eon Chart, you're not looking at triggering this during your first or second action. Obviously, you're looking at this between your third, like after your third and between your fourth action if you have Leo DeLuca, or after your third action on your turn to get that Quick Learner bonus. Schaffner's Catalog is our item economy, which is going to allow us to play our Old Keyrings, Eon Charge Matchboxes, and Lockpicks. So it's just really good scavenging economy. If a card discards itself, you can take advantage of that. Notably with the Eon Chart, we don't have a way to discard it, but we actually do. It's a little bit hidden. You might not know about it. If you do, you've already picked it up. You're just going to play your other Eon Chart into that and discard your empty Eon Chart, recover the discarded Eon Chart with Scavenging, and let your action loop just go frickin' nuts. In addition to all the items we're planning on looping, we are running Lockpicks to help us work against higher shroud locations and triggering our scavenge even easier. In addition, if you combo this with Matchbox, it is very likely that you can use Lockpicks to overcome the higher difficulty first action that Quick Learner gives, which might seem a little bit counterintuitive, but more clue is more win. Notably, I'm also running Lockpicks because what I really like in my scavenging decks is be able to loop my one-handed item really quickly. This deck could easily add in Ice Pick. However, we're going with like Ice Pick is like really good in the scavenging thing, but because we're merging this with Tested Zero, I decided to not run Ice Pick here, level 3 version particularly. But what I really like what Lockpick does for scavenging decks is it means that you have one item that's going to be in your hand, which means that you could loop your old keyrings even easier, which might seem a little bit crazy to not use an old keyring fully, but if, for example, you don't have anything to scavenge back, you might as well play the old keyring that's in your hand and then scavenge back the other one. Notably as well, I didn't talk about with scavenging, but there's an upgraded version that makes the item fast. If you have extra experience, it's likely worth putting into your deck. The ally in our deck is Leo DeLuca, and he works really well with Quick Learner because he gives us an extra action at the -2 difficulty each turn. Notably, Quick Learner is most commonly played at Stella Kark because she naturally provides you that extra reduced difficulty action each turn. While we have to work to provide the same benefit, we can tap into cards outside of the Survivor card pool to take higher advantage of those reduced difficulty actions, sometimes taking 5 or 6 actions in a turn. You can go even harder on this. If you want to play like a Quick Learner Wendy deck, but you don't want to like do the Tested Zero, which I think you still should. Like if you don't want to like also like scavenge, right? You want to just go like action positive. There's a lot of stuff in Rogue like haste that you can take advantage of to also kind of just make that really sing. Leo DeLuca is really nice though. You could go to the upgraded version when you get the experience to make him cost a little bit less. He is very expensive, but he will pay dividends even quicker due to Quick Learner being in this deck and like, you know, that being the thing we're doing. Easy Mark is a nice road card that gives you 3 copies for 1 experience. It's just like good satisfying economy. It doesn't like work hard, but it works well. You can play multiples if you get them, but also like don't be afraid to just gain 2 resources and draw 1 card if the opportunity comes. And Faustian Bargain is just like really strong economy that just gives us 5 and put in curse tokens, which are pretty soft. Keep in mind though that curse tokens can screw up your scavenging math, but luckily they are very soft if you're doing Tested Zero. So like it's one of those things where curse tokens make Tested Zero like they're not even a problem for Tested Zero, but they are just something to be aware of when you are trying to scavenge and all that. All right, out of our economy into some kind of fun little things that we have going on here. So, we're running 2 copies of Push to the Limit as security for our old Keyring 3s. If you aren't aware, Wendy's signature weakness, Abandoned Alone, is something to be, like, you just need to be cognitive of when you are playing. I don't think that's the right word, but it's what my brain wanted to say in the moment. But Abandoned Alone, take 2 direct horror and remove all cards from your discard pile from the game. Half of our deck is scavenging. Right, like half of our deck's goal is to scavenge. There's really only 1 card that we want to scavenge over and over and over again, and that's Old Keyring. We would hate to lose like Eon Sharp, but we would survive. We would hate to lose Schaffners, but we would survive. We would hate to lose Old Keyring, and while we might still survive, it's going to really hurt our tempo. So the reason I have pushed to the limit here is it allows us to emergency put Old Keyrings back into our deck. So push to the limit, choose a weapon or tool asset in your discard pile, resolve an action ability on that asset, ignoring all of its costs, including its action cost. After it resolves, shuffle a chosen card into your deck. Playing this card does not provoke attacks of opportunity. This is a really nice, I think it's a very powerful card from Feast of Hemlock Vale, and it's really good at, like, you know, giving us some extra security for old keyrings. And also, like, the thing is that on top of all this, you also get to activate it. It does cost 2 resources, so just something to be aware of, but I would rather have some security for Abandoned and Alone. And if you don't need it, we just use it for Wendy's ability. As Bryn always says, Wendy could probably win with 28, like, a Lockpicks and 28 blank cards in her deck because of her ability. And Bryn is probably right. We're using Live and Learn to give us some extra insurance of hitting our scavenging when we want to hit it. While we're unlikely to fail our test, it can give us boost to succeed by 2 when we do fail. Consider Live and Learn as a special card that triggers Wendy's ability, but also gives you +2 in the process. So as I said earlier, this could be a lucky. To be completely honest with all of you, I put this card in the deck, made all the slides, got to Live and Learn, and then I looked up the old, because Live and Learn used to actually work positively with Quick Learner. They have since changed that. I don't know if it's an email ruling or an FAQ, but I found that information on ARKHAM, and I said, well, I don't want to give you extra information that is now currently wrong. So right now, if I would change this deck, I would make these Luckies instead of Live and Learns. But I still think Live and Learn is a very playable card, and it's not bad Mythos Phase Protection as well if you do need it. If like failing isn't that bad, but you just want to like pass a test, or like you need to like pass an objective in the game, and like you just want some autofail security. Like I said, it's just like it's a special card that triggers Wendy's ability, but also gives you +2 in the process. Lastly, I'm pretty sure these are our last 2 cards. These are the skills in the deck that both enhance our gameplay. So Quick Learning lets us use lets us use the -2 difficulty effect of Quick Learn an additional time. More actions, like I said, this could be like you could upgrade this into haste as the game if you get more experience than the 29 XP I have in the deck here. Or if you're playing like Taboo, so much of like when you're playing without the Taboo, so much of this deck becomes incredibly cheaper, so you can buy other things. And Resourceful is a survival staple, and this deck continues to prove why that is. Our priority is target a Shed a Light with Resourceful. While Push to the Limit is there to protect our old keyrings, Resourceful is here to protect our Shed-a-Lights. If you haven't seen Abandon Below, don't be afraid to use Resourceful on an old keyring. I think old keyring is just going to be generally stronger in the long term than Shed-a-Light, but Shed-a-Light is here if you have your scavenging loop going and your old keyrings are safe. It's just one of those things you need to be aware of. You need to protect your old keyrings and hopefully your Shed-a-Lights, because those are the 2 powerful cards in your deck. Upgrade order here. As always, adjust how you find the deck performs and fill gaps as needed. There is like you can kind of just like mix and match within these little chunks. And honestly, this one is like, I think the only important thing is you want Quick Learners ASAPs, and then you want to start getting your Scavenging into your old keyrings 3s, depending on how like XP goes out. And then everything else you can kind of just like do as needed. Like I said, your Luckies, instead of becoming like, instead of your Shed-a-Lights coming out of Luckies, you can make those your Live and Learns, yada, yada, yada. You can keep the Winging it's in, adapt as needed. If you want to boost for the Quick Learners, consider grabbing In the Thick of It XP and banking it, or grabbing Easy Marks and Lockpicks to give you just a little bit of a start as well. So like just those are like things you can consider. Yeah, you can just consider. The nice thing about like Lockpicks is that it'll give you more experience. Like you'll be able to get like the high shroud clue locations empty, which means you'll get more experience quicker, which means you'll be able to get your Quick Learners quicker. I usually, if I'm playing for Quick Learner, I grab it in the thick of it and just bank the XP in the first scenario, because then I'll probably be able to run into scenario 2 with 2 Quick Learners in my deck. And that's the deck. Nice and simple. This one actually, it's like the loop is pretty quick. Pretty quick to comprehend if you just like start putting things into action. Notably, like I said, this deck was from what I saw Daniel from Quick Learner bring it. It's not the exact deck, obviously. It's me taking that strategy that I saw, which was Quick Learner and Wendy Adams and Leo DeLuca, to just like take advantage of it like that. I thought that was particularly clever. You could go even further on it, but me, in the way that I am, I saw Zero Shroud, and I said, hey, do you know what card I love playing? Shed-a-Light, because it's really good. And with that, we are done the core set Investigators, so we're going to move on to the Dunwich Investigators. I'll be building decks for all the Investigators here with the goal of trying to build a deck style for the Investigators that I haven't played before. I want to thank you so much for your support on this series. Your guys' comments are really nice, and if you want to just make sure I keep going past Dunwich, be sure to keep commenting on these videos, because I enjoy doing them. I do enjoy doing them, but I also enjoy doing videos that I know you guys all like. Notably, we have some cool stuff coming up on the channel, like Seeker Week. We have the new Parallel Father Mateo. So the next one is not going to be until the end of the month, so it's going to be a while until we see Parallel Zoe, but Parallel Zoe will be coming in the near future, and I'm excited to revisit all of these Investigators to see if I can cook up something that I've not cooked up before. It's going to be very hard with Ashcan Pete. I've played a lot of Ashcan Pete decks. I have a gym deck already cooked up, but the ARKHAM Pete deck, I have no idea what I'm going to do that I haven't done before. So that one's, but I don't have to worry about it until like January. Otherwise, that is it. Wendy Adams Learns Quickly. I hope you enjoyed it. Huge thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel and for everyone who watches on YouTube. If you want to support our channel, you can do so by liking, commenting, subscribing if you haven't subscribed, or joining our Patreon if you want to go to the next level. We have tiers at $3, $5, $10, and $20 American dollars, which all have a variety of perks, including deck lists twice a month, gameplay videos every week, and for priority for patron game days, which happen once a month. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one, and as always, a JJ's.